what is your opinion on the energy bolt? Because there's no item in the game that other than a shield to really prevent you from taking damage.
Which boss's
Oh,
energy
sorry,
bolt?
the Four Kings. It's that is that little homing spell that chases
Yes.
you for like 10 seconds, 15, or I think it's longer than that. But
I think it is. I think that is it's a bit of an aggravating piece of design, but it's not bad. I think it is it's something that forces you to use your running,
mm-hmm.
or of course, change up your build. You've seen the NG plus strat of the Four Kings. Get Havel's armor, get a big weapon, and just tank it because they do 90% magic damage. You just walk up in Havel's armor and you take like 3 damage from all the spells. It's really funny. Yeah, and so
Tanking. It makes my ears bleed.
exactly, but that's a strategy that some people use, and I mean, if it works.
Yeah, yeah.
But I do think that spell, yeah, because like I say, I mostly am playing in light armor.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that it is a spell that encourages a lot more movement, and I think that inadvertently, even though it doesn't look like it, it is designed to keep you away from what has probably been the what has been your most effective strategy up to that point of stand behind the boss and stick them with the pointy end. You know how that works on about 90% of Dark Souls bosses?
Mm-hmm.
Just find their backside or their back foot and then just stick your sword into them until they wind up their stomp attack and then dodge. Well, the Four Kings can't really have a stomp attack. So the only thing they can do if you're behind them is slowly turn around, which you can just track, or they can do their big like AoE burst, which you can just run away from. So to keep you from defaulting to that, they put this thing that chases you. So if you want to stand behind them and try and stay in one spot, you're gonna get beamed by the big magic beam, and you're gonna be like, "What the hell? This is awful design!" And throw your controller and kill somebody. But that's not. I think that it serves a purpose that's hard to see. It's kind of like the Mario Kart Blue Shell.
Mm-hmm.
Why should we give the person in last place an item that affects somebody in first? Why does the person in last place get to ruin my race when they weren't going to win anyways? Because it keeps the game tight.
Yeah.
It keeps the race close, where there will be upset wins and there will be times, and they've added counterplay to the blue shell now. So it's just a fun fact of the
That's
day
actually a
because
really good point. Actually, never thought
uh,
of it that way.
yeah, but that's what the blue shell served the purpose of in Mario Kart, is to keep the race from getting to be too much of a steamroll. Because if you get one person that gets really good at driving, and they take the optimal route every time, then what do? You
Mm-hmm.
can't just, if two people are trying to take the optimal route, then they just kind of, then it's just whoever gets to the inside corner first. And I guess sure. But with the blue shell, it makes it so there is some variance, and I think talking about randomness, Mario Kart's probably one of the best things you could talk about randomness, where you're never going to get anything outside of a specific parameter of items, and there will be variance, and you will get better items the further back you are. Um, but going back to once again, there are tools to beat the randomness.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in first place, you have a chance to get the horn item. I think it was just added for 8. But there's an item called the horn, and if you use it, it'll make a big AOE around just you, and it seems pretty worthless on the surface, but it destroys any projectile near you. So if you have a horn, you hold on to that for dear life. That blue shell gets close and does, how the blue shell does that menacing little circle overhead before it dives onto you.
Yeah.
You blow the horn and it'll blow up the blue shell and you won't get hit by it. Also, if you're an actual ninja, you can use a mushroom to boost out of a blue shell. It is extremely difficult, but if you look at the blue shell's animation, you see it do a little swirl above you, and then it actually has to dive down and collide with you or the ground before making the explosion. So what you can do is it's like frame perfect. It's not like a 1 to 2 frame forgiveness window. where when it does that circle and it tilts to dive down, you pop a mushroom and it won't track far enough and it will explode behind you as you pull away.
Okay.
It is really difficult to do though.
But yeah,
um
oh sorry. Did you?
just getting back to the whole idea of like luck is can be good in a lot of games, a lot of
Mm,
situations, and it can be even better when skill can circumvent luck.
yeah.
um yeah, so
Yeah, that point you made about the blue shell making things tighter, it really applies very well to the energy bolt because it does make things very tight in that fight. Unless you're tanking and you just absorbing everything.
man, what do you mean they have magic attacks? Oh, I couldn't tell.
The four kings, I just tanked him. That was easy. I'm like, oh, okay, gotta ignore that. uh,
Yeah.
but but yeah, the energy bolt when it's chasing after you is very thrilling. And for a while, I was thinking, man, this is probably the worst attack. And at just imagine that attack, but worse in the final boss for Elden Ring. I won't spoil it or anything like that, but
I've heard a lot of things about the Elden Beast, and people are like, "What is this from Soft? The hell is this?"
so whenever you get to it, I definitely want to talk about this topic about this particular design again, just to see how you feel about it. Because there is an item in the game that helps with it. However, when it comes to stubborn people like me that wants to defeat the boss without taking damage, it's like it's intentionally designed for you to take damage.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's another big piece of game design that is actually not just generally not good,
Hmm.
is guaranteed damage. Like you
Yeah,
cannot complete this without without taking damage.
yeah,
And so like big unavoidable AoEs are, in MMOs they make sense because your healers need something to do, and if everybody just got ultra cracked at a boss, then the healers they could just ignore having healers and add more DPS. So that's that makes sense why they have big AoEs. But in a lot of these skill based action games, having completely unavoidable damage, like I know that Smelter Demon, it's weirdly frustrating even when it's not that much, and even if it's not that impactful, when he's burning you because you were close to him. Hello, I have a sword. What do you want me to do? I do you just want me to just don't get hit, lol? Like that's
hmm
the I have a sword. It said, oh, looks like you didn't play a mage or an archer. Dang. guess
um,
you're gonna guess you're gonna get burned.
well, for the longest time I thought all the games were designed, well, most of the games actually are designed where you don't have to take damage for all the fights because it's been done. People have videos.
Mhm.
However, there has been there's a boss in Elden Ring called Moog, and he's got this attack called Nihil, and you can drink this flask that nullifies most damage, but you still take damage, and there's no way to avoid it. It's scripted to always happen. The only way to technically avoid it is just to overpower him and kill him before he does it, but that's not fully, in my opinion, not fully exploring the boss. So, I mean, you know what I mean?
He's the blood guy, right?
I'm sorry?
He's the blood dude, right?
Right, yeah. He's the guy that he's basically the devil, it looks like to me.
Yeah, because all I remember of seeing him was a video of somebody that said, when you get summoned in to help someone, but you're a mage. So it shows this guy. He's doing all this stuff. He's buffing up his sword. He's getting ready to fight Moog. And then this guy with a mage build, he just kneels down and fires one shot at Moog and instantly kills him. And the guy just kind of turns and looks at him like,
Uh huh.
dude, what?
Now, the only attack I can think of that's similar to that is the Moon Presence from Bloodborne, where he drains all your health. But I don't know if there's a way to consistently avoid that. I was looking at it just now to see to see someone that was fighting him for 3 minutes, and it looks like it never happened. So I don't know if it's one of those things where you just kind of hope it doesn't.
Are
But
you talking about Moog or are you talking about
Moon Presence.
Moon Presence.
from Bloodborne.
Yeah.
D- Have you fought him before?
I have not. I've actually never rolled credits on Bloodborne before.
Oh,
Yeah, that is a game that is in my roster of things that I need to play through. I have only of From Soft games. I have only completed Dark Souls 1, 2, 3.
okay,
Yeah, I
gotcha.
think I mentioned that. I think I mentioned that. I might have. I don't know, but
Sorry,
at least last
it's
time.
it's hard to keep track of because there's so many people have different, completions of the games.
Mhm.
Like Glencairn Gamer, I believe he has only completed Dark Souls 1, if I'm remembering correctly. No, wait, sorry. No, he's only played Elden Ring and Dark Souls 3. He's never played anything else other than that.
Yeah, I am on. I have multiple completions of Dark Souls 1 and 2. One, I probably have like a disgusting amount of completion. I think of at least five, probably more.
What?
Um, but no, it's not even five. What, seven? No,
So
I don't even want to think about it. But then Dark Souls 2, I know I have four playthroughs.
I wanted to ask
That
you about Gwen, the final boss of Dark Souls. So I don't know if you saw how I fought him in the end, but I basically exploited the stagger that he has. You attack him twice and he staggers, and
yes.
what I basically did was I would stagger him, circle back around to his back, stagger him again. We would be face to face, and you can basically just do that until he's dead. And I never realized that until the Soul Level 1 run. I know it's not really. I know it's a big exploit, and I probably should learn the rhythm of his attack strikes, but it was really
Oh,
fascinating because I never seen anybody else do it.
interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think I've seen. There's been some very creative ways. I don't know if you've seen the video of uh, Dark Souls 1, but it's all Gwyn's.
Mm-hmm.
And every single enemy was replaced with Gwyn in a
Yeah.
randomizer, which is yikes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so yeah, I think he might have had something. It was like except he created this technique where it was like you parry him, you stab him, and then you by drinking an Estus flask or having an empty one and doing the empty Estus animation, it still has the exact same timing. And you do that animation right when you get out of that animation, you parry, and like 9 times out of 10, he will be dead center middle of an attack that you can parry, and it will parry every time.
Really?
Yeah, and so
Huh.
he found it was a super consistent way that he could get a parry off
I love finding
on
stuff like
Gwyn.
that.
Uh, yeah, finding timings that work really well in games,
Mm-hmm.
when certain things happen. Or I also love burst windows, and for more MMOs, but classes that have burst windows where all of your best damage cooldowns are on like a 1.5 minute cooldown, and so you pop all your buffs, and then at the same time, and you watch your character turn into this unkillable god for 30 seconds or 20 seconds or whatever, and then you go back to waiting on the cooldown.
It's nice finding that perfect weapon that has the perfect timing for the charge attack for like an R2 charge attack. Like for Nameless King, I had like the perfect axe charge. So whenever I charge attacked him and I recovered from that, I was able to dodge and then do it again. Yeah, it seems like it. I don't know if I just got really comfortable at the end or something like that, but I found myself using charge attacks where the boss should be getting more aggressive, but that for some reason axes have always had like the best pacing for bosses for my playstyle.
Yeah, I think I recently, at least, yeah, for that video, for my Dark Souls video, I did a character with Great Axe, because I love the Great Axe. It feels
Hmm.
so good. But yeah, there's a there's a lot of fun weapons that you can find when you get like their timings, or especially weapons that have movements in Dark Souls games that have good hitboxes. Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls 2 is. Have you seen the hitboxes in Dark Souls 2?
Oh
where
yes. I
the
mean,
Fume Knight can stab the air and you could be like 90 degrees to the right of him and it goes, nope,
mm-hmm.
you got it. And you're like, what?
It's hard to believe at one point where, Dark Souls 2 was the newest game and people just kind of accepted it at the
Mhm.
time, but now that there's several games around it, people are like, "Ah, yeah, screw Dark Souls. I'm not playing that again."
Yeah, I don't know. I have a weird soft spot for Dark Souls 2. It's janky, but it has so many cool things in it. But yeah, so back to that with the Souls games that have good hitboxes, whichever one that is to you.
Mm.
um there's some animations and people will make like these montages on like TikTok and whatnot where instead of using dodges they're using their skill animations and it just looks like this insane like this anime boss fight where I don't remember what boss it was in Elden Ring, but this person they use a attack. I don't remember what weapon they're using, but they kneel down and they duck under a blade that goes over their head, and then they do a jumping attack that comes out of that, and it jumps over the blade, sweeping the ground where they were. You're like, oh my gosh, that is so perfect. Those are good hitboxes, and they get a really good hit on the boss that leaves them open for a visceral attack. Uh, Something cool stuff like that. And I love when counterplay in games looks cool and feels cool, and that is sometimes the best way to tell a player that they're playing the game correctly is that they feel amazing when they play the game right,
Mm-hmm.
or how you are envisioning them playing it. And so that is, that's kind of I talked a little bit about that with Dishonored, where I do believe that Dishonored, even though it is seem like a slow paced stealth game, it is at its best and you look your coolest when you're teleporting around killing groups of 5+ enemies in one fell swoop because of how you chained your all your powers together. And so uh same sort of idea with that, using things outside of what seem like the basic tools to do something instead, getting creative with it. I love it.
Thank you for listening to this podcast clip. If you want to watch more of the podcast, the full podcast is in the link in the description, along with my guest channel name. And if you would like to guest in a future podcast, please contact me and we shall talk so we can discuss many, many topics, more to come. Other than that, have a glorious day.